I teach family and marriage. That's a fun class. We do a lot of fun activities. But one of the questions that always comes up, and there is no qualitative evidence, no quantitative evidence that can ever sway one's position. Whenever they are say I agree or I disagree, no evidence I can show them to the contrary can change their mind. And that is, should you spank your child?
Yeah. No, that's a hard one.
That's tough.
That's a tough one.
We have great discussions, but it's tough to sort of come to any sort of conclusion. So what is your answer? What is your response? Or how do you teach that or deal with that?
You know what? I can imagine what's happening in your class because I've never taught family, but I have talked about spankings in the context of your cultural upbringings, and that there's certain cultural backgrounds and even class backgrounds that spanking is more pervasive. Let's say it like that, or people get a lot of ass whoopings. That would be the way that I would say it. And my household was an ass whooping household. My mom was straight up. It's like, do what I say. Get an ass whooping. This is how this is going. There's no alternative. My mom was a Japanese immigrant, so therefore she couldn't go into a lecture format or anything like that. It was all short. It was like, do this, and if I resisted, it's like ass whoopings abound. And my mom Japanese, and we had a rice cooker.
Yeah,
and she would snatch the extension cord out the rice cooker and proceed to hurting somebody. And back in the day, that was completely normal. Today, this would completely be considered child abuse, and Child Protective Services would have been notified because there was welts all up on the back to the legs and all of that. But for real, look, I'm Dr. Bruce Hoskins now. I teach sociology at a really good community college, and I'm fine now. Really, I am, and it's like the things that tell me what you should do with this is like it always centers around how did you feel about the ass whooping and its benefits in your life, and it's like, and if you were the person that got whooped and you hated the whoopings, then you're gonna say, well, I'm never going to whoop my child. But that's really easy to say when you don't have kids.
Very easy to say when you don't have kids. Very easy to say when you don't have kids.
Incredibly easy to say when you don't have kids.
For me, I don't recall ever being whooped by my parents. I know my dad he was in the military, so he was gone a lot.
Yeah.
My mother actually tells the story that she whooped me once, and that was the last time I needed a whooping. And that's sort of one of the pieces of evidence is that spankings only provide fear or offer fear for the child. In my case, that's all I needed.
Yeah.
I guess I'm still afraid of my mom, but as you say, look at us today.
Up and coming. Well, I'm old now. I'm 40. I just turned 43. Yeah. But,
Well, I'll be 40 and won't be arrested.
There we go. There we go.
So, that's a huge part of it. But how do you manage that now as a parent? That's a tough one. Because you have the evidence. You're aware. But how do you do that as a parent?
Yeah, because there was a recent article that was just talked about in academia and whatnot to say that spanking basically lowers the cognitive abilities of a child. Like if they claim that they've been spanked and then therefore it's like their cognitive abilities have been reduced. Basically meaning that if you talk to your child, that your child never learns what's right and wrong and things like that, and that you need to talk to them in order to help them develop the why of it versus just to not do. And now I get that, I really do. And when I was in a working class, I actually understood way more why my mom didn't, besides not speaking English very well, but that my environment was way more, I'm going to use the word hazardous, if you would, and that there's some absolutes that need to be listened to, and dang it, I'm not going to try to rationalize them with you. Do not do drugs. Do not go over to that corner at night. Do not talk to certain people. It's like no cognitive, no nothing, not a why, what, don't do this, and if you don't, bad things will happen to you, and I actually understand and respect that. But as a middle class person, I train I don't spank a whole bunch. I do spank. Spanking to me is open hand across the behind or whatever. And I do spank them every once in a while, but I spend much more time talking to them. And I see the effect. Now my kids are like trained negotiators. And so rather than get in trouble, they negotiate their way through the space like, yo, but this is the reason why. And they're explaining it to me, and it calms me down. It gives me that moment to think. And then I'm like, you know what? I see what they're saying. Look, don't do that. And we're talking and all of that. And so, that's what I do with my kids, and I completely see, like I said, the value in both sides. I'm always hesitant to just completely take away something from a parent's toolbox, though, of tools. What that study actually means more to me is that don't just spank your kids.
Right.
Like, sooner or later, talk to them, whatever, but don't let not the only the only tool in your toolbox be spankings in regards to disciplining your kids. You need a wide variety of disciplinary things so that you can figure out what actually works better for the child themselves.
And I think you make the biggest point of all is that these are class issues, right? The fact that working class folks raise working class kids as they themselves are being disciplined and punished at work, which is without the negotiation, which is without the freedom, while middle class jobs, you do negotiate with your boss, you are consulted. Absolutely. And so then you end up training and rearing your middle class child that way. So that was good. That was very informative. I still don't know what to do about spanking. I still don't know, but we're one
toolbox. A toolbox. Spanking is one tool in the toolbox, but there's got to be other stuff in there. That's what I feel.
Take away their Disney movies.
Take away Disney movies. Yeah, well, at least that.